I'm pleased to be joined now by Tyron Woodley. Main event this weekend. It's on TSN versus Colby Covington. This particular matchup, Tyron, do you think that you need a win to help restore balance to your legacy? I know legacy is a very important thing to a fighter. I don't know how much you think about that at this stage, but is that something that you're thinking about going into this fight?
Going into this fight, I'm not really taking in any additional variables. I'm not thinking about I need to beat him because people don't like him. I'm not taking in I need to beat him because, I stand strongly and firmly with the Black Lives Matter movement. I don't think I need to beat him for my legacy. I need to beat him because I'm the best in the world. And I need to go out there and I need to conduct myself in a manner which I execute, I explode. I don't hold back, I don't hesitate. And I move forward and I kick ass and take names. And that's why I need to beat him. And if I can focus on that alone, all these other variables are going to be taken care of by themselves. So that's my focus right now, is just beating him because I'm the best, beating him because I'm better, beating him because it's what I'm meant to do.
Sometimes fighting emotionally can help people, though. Do you have an example of when you fought emotionally and it did help you, and when you fought emotionally and it didn't work out your way?
I don't know that I've ever been in a situation where I've had to fight emotionally, to be honest. I fought Robbie Lawler and I wanted to beat him, and I wanted to win the title. It wasn't so much about beating Robbie. I like Robbie and I was a fan of Robbie. My kids were a fan of Robbie and my ex was a fan of Robbie. So everyone that was around me, we loved Robbie. But I had to fight him because he had the belt, and that's what my whole goal in the sport was. So I was fighting him to win the world championship. I wasn't fighting him to beat him because I didn't like him. I love Carlos Condit. To date, he's still my favorite fighter. And, I had to beat my favorite fighter. And it was nothing personal against him. Usman, I basically mentored the kid. You know what I mean? So it wasn't nothing personal with that. It wasn't really a lot of trash. So we joke here, and I called him LL Cool J, and we had some fun with it. But at the end of the day, I respected him and he respected me, and that respect still is there. Gilbert Burns, he literally came off a win against Damian Maya, and he did what he needed to do to get his hype train going, and he was able to be focused in the octagon, execute and do his thing. So this is the only fight where I could get emotional, and I'm very thankful that this fight is happening now. It's happening at the right time, because had it happened when it was supposed to happen, I was supposed to fight him in September. Instead of Till, I was supposed to fight him instead of Usman. I was supposed to fight him instead of Leon Edwards. I was supposed to fight him instead of Gilbert Burns. During those times with a big press conference and emotions and shit talking and getting all in each other's face, maybe I would have taken myself out of the element that makes me the best, the fighter that I am, the smart IQ that I have in the octagon, the strategizer. It would have taken me out of that, and I wanted to just whoop his ass. So now, for me, it's been a blessing in disguise fighting during these COVID times that right now I didn't have a lot of that distraction. I didn't have a lot of that build up. And like right now, everybody wants me to do all this trash talking and stuff like that. I'm better than the kid, and he knows it. And all I got to do is prove it. It's never been a question on paper who's better, me or Gilbert, me or Kamar Usman. It's never been a question. But which version of Tyron are we going to see? Are we going to see the one that beat Carlos Condit, beat Koscheck, beat Robbie Lawler? Are we going to see that version, or are we going to see the one that allows certain people in the fight that shouldn't have been in the fight? So it's a blessing in disguise for me. I don't take any additional stress that I don't need for this fight. I'm the person that's creating the legacy. He needs me for his legacy. He needed me the entire time. Go back and look at the social media from the end of 2016 to pretty much now. 99% of his social media is about me. He's been consumed with me. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you don't see that on my page. You see me, you see Champ Camp. You see me training. You see me focus. And you see basically a mini documentary about my lifestyle and what this means to me. And now people can see the realness. And they're going to draw to that. He's having a hard time being the heel. How do you have to force somebody to accept you as the heel? You know what I mean? It's not reflecting in his followers on social media. All the effort and work he puts into trying to be the bad guy, he should have 2 million followers. You know what I mean? But he doesn't, because nobody believes it. They know it's all fake.
You mentioned that you were supposed to face him in September of 2018, so that's 2 years ago. Ended up facing Darren Till, as you mentioned. How is Tyron Woodley back then different than the Tyron Woodley now? Because it seems like you've done a lot of work on personal growth, on getting outside of your head instead of being in your head. How would that Tyron Woodley have approached this fight differently than the Tyron Woodley I'm talking to at this moment?
To be honest, that fight I took personal. I took personal because there was a lot of hype behind Till, and everybody was, for the first fight of my life, they were like, "Oh, he's older." I'm like, "What? I wasn't older one fight ago." Like now, all of a sudden, I'm old. Now, all of a sudden, I'm washed up, and it's a young lion coming in to take me out. And I just took disrespect. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for that fight. I had 3 weeks to get ready for Darren Till, and it wasn't the most opportune circumstances in which the fight was set up on. And I was very, very disrespected. I was very upset, and I needed to send a message out very loud and clear. And now I feel that and more towards Colby Covington. So I feel like with that same type of energy that I brought to the Darren Till fight, with some additional growth as a person and some balance in my life, I feel like I should have an even better performance. But I'm not gonna say, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna finish. Like we all gotta sit down 2 or 3 days before, and people gonna ask us what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen. Watch Saturday. We both gonna see together what's gonna happen. So I feel like I'm at the point in my career where I'm what I'm capable of, and you've also seen some fights that it wasn't me, and I could have done more. So Saturday we're gonna watch together. We're gonna see what's gonna happen. But my mind is set on going out there and dominating, doing the best I can to go out there and just take everything away from him.
Were there times when you were champion that you were miserable, that they were making your life difficult in terms of the UFC brass, in terms of people's expectations of you? Do you feel a lot happier now, just in your life?
I'm not gonna say the UFC brass made it miserable or people, but it definitely wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. When you're as a champion, you envision life being so much easier, and with more responsibilities that you're given, the more pressure comes with it. Too much is given, much is required, and the expectation, especially when you're a champion, the championship fights is what headlines pay-per-views. So if somebody's injured and somebody can't fight or something happened or somebody failed a drug test, you're going to always be on the speed dial call. Hey, we need you to fight a world championship fight, 5 rounds against a very tough competitor in 3 weeks. And you just had to be ready for that. And at times it was very, it was very toxic for my life. And, you couldn't have just a regular life. And you got to experience the bells and the whistles, the parties, the money, and all those different things. But it was probably a period in my life where I was the most empty, to be honest. Now I feel like my next run as champion, when I get back to the point where I'm fighting for the world title, winning that belt, I feel like my experience will be a little bit different the second time around.
Can you expand on that? You said it was the time where you were the most empty. What do you mean by that?
I mean, I had everything visually, but personally, my life was freaking disastrous. I had chaos in my life. Hate to use that word, being that who I'm fighting, but my life was all out of order, man. I was certain parts of me that I allowed to change because of what I thought I should have been doing at that time, and it wasn't right. It wasn't me, and I had to regain myself of who I was. And money never made me. I grew up without money, and I've always been a solid dude from the day one. So I just was living a life that wasn't real. I was living a double life. I was just all over the place. And I separated fighting from who I was. I can do whatever I want on this side of the coin, but when it came down to fighting, I was still winning. And as long as I was winning, there was nothing that would have made me change things in my life and restructure the way that I was living. Nothing would have changed that. I had won 4 world title fights in less than a year. I mean, I hadn't lost in 5 years. And at that point in time, I didn't see a Kamaru Usman, a Gilbert Burns, a Leon Edwards, a Colby Covington beating me when I've already beaten the gorilla, the natural born killer, and someone called Ruthless. I didn't see those guys beating me. So I'm not going to say I thought it was going to be easy, but I thought my toughest competition was behind me on paper. And that mindset was very toxic for me. And it's not that I didn't train hard. I've always trained hard. My coaches will attest to that. I've always trained hard, but I didn't love it. It didn't mean the same thing to me. Now I'm back. I'm back to the point where this is my lifeline. This is what I need to be able to look back and say, I had a chance to turn this around, and I put everything into it. A very good businessman came to me and was like, Tyron, you're a smart businessman. You got a lot going on for yourself. And I was just like you. He said, I suggest you do what you're doing, but have somebody else steer the boat right now because you don't ever want to look back 10 years. and know that you had the chance to finish his legacy the way that you saw it in the beginning of it, and you didn't do it. He said, put everything you got into this sport, put everything you got into your training, go out there and win all these fights in devastating fashion. And he said, I promise you, everything that you want to do are going to be so much easier. Because I'm thinking about like the industry so flaky. When I was a belt, everybody wanted to do music with me. Everybody wanted me at their party. Everybody wanted to feature me in their film. Everybody wanted to have me on their podcast. Everybody wanted to have me at the red carpet. You know what I mean? I couldn't say yes enough. But it's funny. You lose one fight, you lose two fights, and then it gets quieter. And that just shows you this industry is very fickle. It's very fair weather. It's not unconditional.
Yeah, you can say that again with MMA. They chew people up and spit them out. It's like the running backs in the NFL. But I do want to ask you one last question. Like, do you have one single regret that if you could go back and change during your championship run, you would change that? I'm not talking about, obviously you would want to go back and beat Kamaru Usman, but is there one single thing that you regret that you feel could have really changed the way things went?
I don't regret anything. I think everything is a part of the plan. I think my story has never been from A to B. There's always been some roadblocks in between. It's always been me getting off track and detouring and coming back. I think the biggest piece of my story is how I dealt with adversity. And if you know me and you know my story, you know that I've had a lot of adversity in my life and I've always had to deal with it. So I don't regret anything. I don't regret the millions of dollars I spent. I don't regret all the fun I had. I don't regret, the decisions I made. And I needed those things because now I'm at a point right now where it all makes sense. It's all kind of surface right now. And for me, it's just a situation where, we can't just have a perfect life. We can't just have everything go great for us. You got to have some things in life that shake you, to the core where you got to address yourself. And I'm proud of myself how I answered, how I answered when I could just say, okay, I can retire. I've had a great career. I don't have to keep fighting. I got so many other bags that people don't know about. People tell me, oh my God, you shouldn't be focusing on movies. It's hard to say when I go to the mailbox and then one day I'm pulling out $10,000 in residual checks. I made more money in film than Kobe's probably made in his whole career. So therefore, you can't tell me that if God gave me a gift not to do it. But I know my legacy was not losing to Gilbert and Kamaru and then finishing. I know that wasn't the way God painted it for me. So yes, it's a little bit more difficult. Yes, coming from the constellation than being on the championship side. But what a story would that be when Tyron Woodley comes back and he beats Colby Covington and he comes back and he beats Kamaru Usman or Gilbert Burns, whoever has a belt, that he regains his championship when everybody said he was too old, when everybody said he couldn't do it, when everybody said he lost track of where he was at and he became too Hollywood. And he came and proved everybody right that supported him. See what I said? I don't have time to prove the people wrong. You know what I mean? But I do have enough time to prove the people right that do support me.
Well, you're my age, so in my eyes, you're a young man. So I appreciate your time. Thanks for your honesty, Tyron, and really appreciate watching your journey. And you continue to chug along and persevere through anything that you've been through inside or outside the cage.
Thank you. Appreciate it.